Okay, I am not looking my best today. It's greasy hair day. And I'm in my sewing room and I can see that the sun behind me is making this a little bit more problematic than usual. So there's that. Yeah, I'm in the other part of my sewing room. Usually you see me over here with my machines and stuff. Here I am, not by the machine, sitting on the bed. You can see behind. It's not really a bed. It's like, but anyway, I'm stuck here because the guys are putting in the concreto. They're putting in the sidewalk that I wanted. And it's taking longer and more difficult than we thought because they've had to cut through rock and various things that I didn't even know existed under the soil. Hey, yeah, I'm doing well at Amber, except I need to take a shower and wash my hair. It's all oily today. But I'm hoping I can take a shower after that. Lisa, I have been wanting to do this. Excuse me, I got to grab this. My asthma is still pretty bad, so this may be a short one. But I've looked up all the stuff. I did research. I figured out what would work for us. And we managed to do a whole lot of things right. We did a lot of things wrong, but we did a lot of stuff right too. And it was hard. I'm not going to lie to you. It's probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do was make that adjustment to my husband being home all the time. Because I'm one of those people, kind of an introvert. So I'm kind of an introvert. So to have somebody in my face 24/7 was a big change for me, a big, horrible change. And it took some getting used to. I would say the first year after retirement was difficult. I got to move this because it is no better. I should know better than to put the window at my back. Anyway, it took me at least a full year, maybe two, to finally get on top of this. We had some head knockings a little bit when we first started retirement. So I started looking at what worked for us and what didn't work, and I started looking at everything else. Do you know that the highest divorce rate is in, nice, Stinky, you going to be nice today? The biggest divorce rate is at retirement age. I was really shocked by that. I had no idea. I thought when you were young it would be, I don't think I'll ever retire, but I will listen. Yeah, it can apply to working at home too, because that's really hard too. Yeah, I'm feeling the asthma's, it is what it is. I went out yesterday after I talked to you guys. I wore an N95 to go outside, and guess what? I just reacted like crazy. This is just not going well. And I suspect it's not going to be going well until all the volcanic ash disappears. And there's been multiple eruptions, so my husband's had to get used to that. I think one of the biggest things I was reading about that everyone should do, we did not do, if we had done this, it would have gone better, is to sit down with your spouse and talk about how much time you plan to spend together, the things you plan to do, what your shared ambitions are, when you're going to need that time alone. And set some expectations for who does what. Don't bite. Please don't bite. So we didn't do that. We should have. If you can be, Los Angeles, I'm about an hour away. The volcano is not far from the Liberia airport. My baths are up to a half an hour now. Yes. The Al Gore, such a surprise they split. Looked like the perfect marriage. Yes, it did. And I think that the surprise of them splitting, I'm sure finding out that Al may have been inappropriate with masseuse was kind of the last straw. It would have been for me. I wouldn't have. That's one of those things. Everybody needs alone time. So here's the thing. If you go ahead and you talk about these things in advance and you just get that out of the way, you figure out who does what chores had to be done when, what your expectations are, and other things like that, you can navigate this a whole lot easier than some of us have managed to do it. So one of the big ones is everybody needs their own space. I'm just going to come right out and say that one. Everyone needs their own space. And in the house, you need to talk about where it's going to be your retreat space and his, because there's going to be times when you're both going to want to be alone and alone in a way that not being bugged. Headphones, yes, headphones are essential. He has them, I have them. And when one of us is watching television in whatever room, the other one sticks on the headphones so they can watch YouTube. So this is my retreat space. You guys have, let me move it. So this is my retreat space. This is my studio. I'm sure you recognize many of my supplies over there. My sewing machines and everything else. This is my retreat room. When I absolutely have to be alone, this is the room that I come to, where my sweet cat is, who bites me, is. So I have that room. Hey, Michelle, making Valentine's Day cocoa bombs. I'm not even sure what that is. Sounds good. Anything with cocoa is. So if you work together too, this could also, because you're being forced to be together 24/7, and that's just not the natural thing for most of us. My husband worked in DC. He had a long commute every single day. It got a lot longer as time went on because it started as just over an hour and ended up being 2.5 one way. And that's a lot of time. That is a lot. So you spend all this time together, and if you're not used to it, it can really get under your skin. I think the important thing, one of the things that we have discovered that works for us, and I read that this is important, is to have projects. Right now, he's engaged in his project, which is to have these guys, they came last year, the guys, and did some work for us. They put in some sidewalks and did some landscaping and some other things. This year, they're putting in more sidewalks because of the fact that I can't walk anymore. We're having more put in. We're having some wrapping around the house so that I can still wash the windows on the good days, and on my bad days, I can still water my plants. Because one of the things about this house, and I don't have plants in this window, but the windows have like a foot wide ledge on the other side. And I have plants on most of those. We have 3 bedrooms, 3-car garage, shop and guest room, and separate shed, and 2.5 acres. And he follows me like a puppy. Yes, projects. Keep him busy with projects. Projects are awesome. The only problem with the projects is he got me up this morning. He's like, come look at this. I'm like, I'm in my nightgown. I don't want to show myself out those guys because I was on my nightgown and had little thin straps, and it was inappropriate for me to be prancing out there with that on. So I said, you got to wait until I got 5 minutes. So that's one of the things, is you got to also take into consideration your style, his style, and everything you do. My husband right now, his alone space is a swimming pool, since I can't use it because of the asthma. So when he needs that alone time, he'll go out there and just roll around in the swimming pool, do his thing out there. You don't retire for 11 more, Michelle. Oh my goodness. Make some plans. I love him to pieces, but it is an adjustment. It is a huge adjustment. And I keep hearing this from everybody, especially during the pandemic where we've had to work from home. We are downsizing, making me crazy. You have to do that sometimes. We're talking about building another house and renting this one out because the rents in our area here have gone crazy. So if we had a small mountaintop home, it would be better for my asthma, and it would be a much smaller space to maintain. There's so many advantages to it. So we may do that real quick. Projects. So outside interests, those are also a really good thing. You have to decide early on what kind of outside interests you're going to do. What do I mean by that? I mean, like, if I hadn't been so sick with asthma, on Saturday, I would have gone to a wine and design party. Now, I don't drink because of the stupid drugs I'm on, but I do like to paint. I'm not too crazy about I've been to them in the States, and I haven't been crazy about the wine and design parties because it looked to me the few times that I've went in the States, it was like a hen party with an excuse to get real drunk. And I'm just not down with that. Get drunk if you want, drink, 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 but don't try to paint. I'm not a big fan of that. But this time it was just somebody I know from the church, and there's not any of that. It's just painting and talking. I didn't know how much I didn't see this coming. I've directed us moving to our retirement home, but really didn't see this coming. Lisa, neither did I. That was the big shocker. And moving here was also the big shocker for all of that, too, because it started all over again. We're in a new location. It's just, so it's been almost 5 years here in this house. And at this point, it really is we've made it ours. But it took a long time for that to happen. So I wasn't anticipating having trouble with that, but it definitely is. And losing everything we shipped was really hard too. So if you can have outside activities like maybe book clubs or going and to a quilting bee or whatever floats your boat, even if it's something like going to get matching tattoos with your bestie, something that is completely separate from his thing, and he needs to have those things too. He needs to have those things. Jim goes to all these different Bible studies, and bless him, I wouldn't do it. It's not my interest. I've sat through hundreds of those things in my lifetime, but he's getting something out of it, and it's his thing. So I have no objection to that. A thing that I've also found is helpful, and I didn't see this on anybody's list, is make time to take trips together. Get away from the house. Go somewhere that's completely neutral ground together. I climbed a volcano once. We've done stuff like that. We have things we do together and we do alone, like going down and sitting in the hot springs, just driving around and exploring different things. We went to the waterfalls. We just take those trips together. And it makes a difference. It gives you a little bit of a reprieve from the daily grind at home where you're trying to adjust to each other, being around each other. The other thing is, if you have shared interests, stuff together that way. Here is not quite so much. He is outgoing. I am introspective and sort of into my own thing. So there are those things that we enjoy doing together. We go out to eat together. Jeff can't figure out what he wants to do. Just letting him decompress, waiting. Lisa, that's the best thing you can do, because it will take them a while to decompress and to be able to figure out, where do we go from here? What am I going to do for the rest of my life? My husband, he has his teaching. He still teaches English. He's involved in any number of things. And it took him a while to find his footing and figure out what it was he wanted to do with retirement and what his retirement was going to look like. After he retired in Virginia, he kept telling me, he said, I can't just sit around. I can't sit around the McDonald's and drink coffee with the other old timers. I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do that. And I was like, okay, well, let's figure out what you can do. The hot springs does not affect my asthma as long as it's not raining. If it's raining up in Arenal when I go up there, then all bets are off. If it's raining, it's holding the volcanic ash and sulfur fumes down to the environment because the clouds are holding it down. So on days it's raining in Arenal, I stay in the lovely hotel room. I stay in either our suite, or we usually get a villa there. And there's usually plenty to do. So it has to be a day that's not raining for me to go to Volcano Hot Springs. It's actually a lot of fun. And we go to the freebie one. We don't go to the $100 a day one some of the hotels have. Yes. So you want to get rid of everything. Pink Nana, I went through that too when we got here, before we got here. I got rid of a ton of stuff. And then I sorted our stuff. I packed 2 pallet loads of goods for when we first got here. And since we didn't know if we were going to stay, that was all I brought with me. And when we had to ship everything else in a 20-foot shipping container, it barely fit. And then the government seized about 2/3 of it. So that was kind of a shock. But here's what I've discovered. You don't need your things as much as you think you're going to need your things in retirement. Right now, I have way too much art supplies, and I feel kind of like an ungrateful gringo for having 2 sewing machines. And I actually have 2 broken ones in there that I'm using for parts. So I have 4 sewing machines in this room. So having less, I think, is a good idea. It's a real good idea. If I had to pack up everything and ship it back, I probably wouldn't do it. I would ship the good things, and that was it. Why did they seize it? They seized it because, Small Town Jewel, I screwed up. When I shipped everything here the second time, the first time everything went through just fine. I missed a few things. They stole my turquoise stapler and all of my hand towels, my kitchen towels. I'd had a lot of the calendar ones going back to 1976. So they took that. Oh, Pink Nana, I'm sorry. The declaration, yes. What happened was I left everything with my real estate agent who had been renting our house out and then sold it for us. I took Post-it notes and I went through everything in there. I put Post-it notes saying my kids will pick this up. A Post-it note on this to say this needs to go into the trash. A Post-it note on this one saying Goodwill. A Post-it note on this one saying pack it. So I left all this stuff marked. I wrote him a lengthy email about what needed to happen. Said they will drop off the shipping container and then you can pack it from there. Hire some guys to do it. So we did. The only problem is he picked up everything out of the storage room. The stuff that was supposed to go to my kids, the stuff that was supposed to go to Goodwill, everything went in there. And so when I got here, the shipping container, instead of holding a certain number of things, it had 2/3 again more. So we didn't get everything. We went back and forth with customs here, and I could tell you a bunch of everybody I know that shipped here. Everybody has a problem. I only know one person that did it. Somebody I know that's quite wealthy that packed everything, had Allied Van Lines or one of the big moving companies pack everything, ship it over, and they got their stuff in 6 weeks. Nothing seized, nothing missing. Everything went through customs in a hurry. Not us. It took 18 months for us to resolve our problem with them. And moving costs are ridiculously expensive. That is one of the things, yeah, small fortune. And it costs, if you have, like my friend did, it cost over $10,000 for her to get her stuff here. As much hassle as we went through and the things we spent on and trying to grab this one and do that, we were at least that in there. So I could have had everything just clear customs, no problem, had I just hired one of the major shippers. Who knew? So all of that stuff puts super stress on your marriage because, like I said, we went back and forth. We were yelling at each other the whole 9 yards. It's not good at all. And that's the kind of unique stressors that you have when you're retiring. A lot of people will move. They'll get their retirement home, travel free and easy, just buy all new crap when you get there. Lisa, that is the thing that I tell people now. If you can't pay that $10,000 up front to have Allied Van Lines or whoever pack your stuff, ship it, deal with the customs, deal with everything, then show up with your suitcases. And I know people that have loaded boxes and brought like 10 or 12 boxes. The airlines will charge about $100 a box. And that might actually be cheaper than the shipping here, the shipping and going through customs. My Bernina sewing machine over there was hand carried through customs. I hand carried through the airline and customs, and it was my carry-on. Why? Because because of the cost of the thing. It was $10,000 brand new. Now it's not worth anything near that now, but it's still not cheap. I'm just going to say that if you have to buy one of these things. And if I had to replace it, it'd probably be way more than 10,000 now. So those shared interests and giving each other some space, I think is the most important thing you can do. Because as a retiree, it's not just the stress of being around all the time. It's the stress of moving. It's the stress of figuring out what you're going to do with the rest of your lives and that sort of thing. You know, I had to honor the thing when my husband said that he did not want to sit around the McDonald's and drink coffee. And he had to honor when I said I wanted a cat. I mean, there's just things that you're going to have to compromise on. We don't agree on everything. We're still not even I don't know. I think that you walk away at that point. When I get to that point, I get out the clippers and start clipping the hedges. It's like out there doing gardening in the most angry way possible. But that was how I did it in the States too. When I got super frustrated and he was in my face, go out and garden, mangle something on purpose. Lisa, that's the only thing I can. And the other thing I'm going to suggest, and then I'm going to go over some books and some tips from one of the sites I found that actually wrote about this, because there aren't very many sites even that talk about this kind of retirement issues. Sympathetic listening. Either that's a friend or a therapist or somebody that is not going to mind if you unload and go, oh my God, what do I do about this? What if this happens? What would you do about this? Blah, 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 all that. I have some really good friends that I can turn to in times of need and talk to them. One of my biggest ones is Cindy Kunzman. I know her from No Longer Quivering. She wrote for us. I got to know her really well. She's an awesome person. She's also a great listening ear. During the whole great road hog thing, she said, hey, do you want to talk? I'll talk to you anytime about this. I was like, no, this isn't even worth getting upset about. I'm just going to give myself my asthma meds, move on. And that's what I have done. So it's nice having those listening ears. And my husband doesn't always understand. There's times when I will say, hey, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, why are you telling me this? Why are you involved in that? So having somebody that will listen to you, be that a therapist or one of your good friends, and having a network of good friends is really essential in this time. I have friends that are going through the same thing. Cindy's husband isn't retired yet. He's the same age as I. So it is upcoming, and we've talked about this too. We've talked about how difficult it can be when your husband is in your face all the time. Sorry, I hit send before I was done. Can you imagine the conversations we've had? Yeah, I can, because we've had some of those same ones, I'm sure. I went to the point where I didn't want to get rid of everything. I've always hung on to my possessions with a fierce hanging on. And I think it's because when I was in college, I lived a very, very, very shoestring life. If I couldn't get it at Goodwill, I didn't get it. Yes, now I do feel better thanking my stars, not being abused by crazy online sickos. Yes, there's that. So let me see, where was I? Okay, I need to look at this. This is a list put together by U.S. News and World Report. They were the only ones I found that actually had practical, good suggestions, some of which I've gone over. Some of theirs make me laugh here, like share your visions on visioning, staying home, and relaxing. Yep, you got to talk about those things. You have to have a shared vision. I wasn't entirely on board with Costa Rica for the longest time. My husband talked about it. Yes, there are books I'm getting ready to suggest too at the very end. And I had to catch his vision before I could commit to coming here. Once I saw how peaceful it was here and how many animals there were and how we could live like millionaires on thousandaire money, I was sold. Even though before we moved, I told him I wanted a tiny home. Here I am. I'm in a house almost twice as big as the house I lived in Virginia. Discuss how much time you will spend together. I don't know if that's even possible, because when you start the retirement process, you don't know how much time you're going to spend together, what the time is going to look like, any of that. So while I think it's a good idea to discuss it, I'm not sure that it's as helpful as this article is trying to say, because you just never know. I never know. Talk about your roles, and identities will change. Yes, your identity will change. And that is one of the hardest things about this, I think, is that your identity, your self identity, it all changes. And you may not be ready for that. So that may take some therapy and or struggle talking to iron that out. Negotiate how you divide household chores. Good idea. Create a new budget and monitor your finances together. Also good. Pursue some of your own interests and maintain separate friendships. I think, to me, that is one of the keys to living through this in one piece. Establish separate territories in your home. Again, I spoke about that. I think that's important. Get out of the house and put yourself in social situations. No, that sounds horrific, but my husband likes to do that. So for him, that would be essential. Treat yourself to date night. Expect an adjustment period. I would say probably a good year to 18 months, maybe 2 years. Yes, we have worked hard and very grateful, but still a hardship adjusting to a new life. That's weird. Yes, negotiation is key. Yes, Lisa, that's the thing. And I think that this is one of these subjects where I'm just not finding much material out there at all. Now, there's some books I found on Kindle. It's one called Too Much Retirement, Surviving Retirement as a Couple, Miriam Goodman. I'm going to list all these on the description. Surviving Your Husband's Retirement by Nora R. Hall. Living Together After Retirement by Graham. I can't read my handwriting. I think it's Graham Hodge. Most men have a tool shop, but I have a shop in the house too. I spend lots of time there tinkering about now that me and my husband are always home. It's a lifesaver. I was going to say, if you have something like that, like I said, I showed you this room earlier. This is my sewing room. And it's very girly, as you saw. It's very girly. There's pinks and purples and different things, all kinds of crazy hand-carved furniture in here. And I just love it in here. This is my little retreat. And sometimes I move my computer in here, like when there are guys that are using the pickaxe right in front of the window and shouting at each other in Spanish. I figured you want to hear, throw me that tequila. They've already been drinking, and it's not even 11 here yet. So I built probably 40 birdhouses, no joke. Oh my goodness, that amber chick. I wish that I still had a tool shop too. My father taught me how to do that sort of thing when I was a kid, and I used to use those skills. When I was doing stained glass, I built in my workspaces, my countertops, all of that in our garage. So that was one of the big things that I've done to make this work. So it's a hard thing. You got to make adjustments. You got to figure this stuff out. And they say that gray divorce is super common. Apparently, divorcing after retirement. The thing that I found disturbing reading about that is it talked about how the adult children handle their parents divorcing far less well than teenagers and little children. I thought that was interesting. Make it a little easier to split, but apparently it doesn't. My dad taught me all I know. He wanted a son, but he got me. And first, same here, that Amber chick. That's why I know how to use the skill saw and some various things that most women don't, and how to wield my hammer. Here, I'm not doing any of that. I did a lot of that in the States. Before we moved here, I used to do a lot of the maintenance, like if the rubber gasket on the not rubber, wax gasket on the toilet went bad, I'd replace it. Just a lot of that stuff. I'm not doing that stuff anymore here. I've retired from it, stepped down. Jim does a little bit of it, but mostly we hire people because, like, we got a crew out there right now, paying them $8 an hour for the entire crew. So that, and the other thing is my doctor made me give up doing stained glass because of the lead and the other things. He didn't want me breathing. He thought it was making my asthma worse. I love stained glass. I would love to be able to do it again, but you have to, that's the other thing about retirement. You have to be realistic about if things have passed on for you. There's definitely times and time frames for everything in your life. And I can see there's going to be kinds of art I'm probably never going to do again. Oh, that Amber chick, I know you're having your surgery tomorrow. I'm actually pretty excited for you. I think that is pretty awesome. You're going to be happy as a clam afterwards because you're going to regain your life. That's all I can say about that because it really was a game changer for me and a lot of other women. Stained glass I learned a lot while I was doing it. I always wanted to do it. I did it as a module in college and I loved it. I didn't do it for some years. I did it when I got into my 40s, when I could afford the equipment, I could afford all the glass, I could afford everything. And it was kind of funny because once my doctor told me I had to get rid of everything, I just sold it all on Craigslist. And it went like that. I had probably 20, 30 requests in minutes. So now I have to talk about the unpleasant stuff. I'm going to talk a little bit about Caroline Ironwill. I consider her a friend, but she's having kind of a rough time of it right now, dealing with the internet. And this kind of all ties in with this too, because you have to know who you are. You have to know where your boundaries are. And I think that's super important in retirement. It's all super important in life. If you're getting stressed out from the internet, it's probably a good idea to take a huge step back. It's probably not a good idea to throw crap at everybody and to completely just disrespect people that consider you a friend. And I feel kind of like that's what's happened. She was messing in the Mr. Bacon Bits thing last week, and it turned around and took it all down and then apologized to him. I don't know quite what to make of that, but I was kind of annoyed with it. And then to find out today that she had told somebody in one of her readings to use birth control and never had any more children, and just said some really nasty things and said some nasty things about the people in the retirement home she's working. I just don't know what to think anymore. So I'm going to say this. If something does not serve you, if you're looking at somebody that's doing this crazy stuff, Lisa, I'm not really sure. I don't know. I think with her, though, it's interesting because she's done this before where she said, oh, I'm being attacked, blah, blah, blah. I'm out of here, blah, blah, blah. I'm taking everything down. This is not her first Shiza rodeo. I'm just going to say it. And this is her reaction. You know, I can sometimes get rattled, too, when somebody sends me death threats. Sometimes I'm rattled, unless I know who it is. Thank you, Susan. So I don't know why. But she jumped in, then she apologized. Bobby, the robotic cat, did a couple of videos about her. And whoever Bobby's creator is had no love for tarot. I'm just going to say that. I'm still kind of on the fence about it, except that now I think it's probably a pile of, you know what? Why do I say that? A mechanic. Oh, that would be awesome, Lisa. I wish my husband could do that too. So when she does these things, she loses a lot of subscribers. And I'm not sure that doing tarot for a living for her is the most emotionally healthy thing, because it's the internet. You're going to get some pushback. You're going to get pushback on YouTube. You just are. All I can say is I get far less pushback on YouTube than I ever did writing for NLQ. Oh my word, I would wake up some days and my internet, my boxes would be full, the comment boxes, my public email address, everything. It was people be PMing me like crazy on my social media. And it's okay. People want to trauma dump, and I will let them do that for a time. I'm not going to let you do that endlessly because I can't help you. I mean, I usually try to send people off to their local mental health care, because that's really what will help someone, not me listening to them going, oh, really? Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. I'm sorry. This is what you do. So I try to always send people off to mental health. And Caroline, I would suggest that you get a mental health checkup. Not saying you got to go to therapy and you're crazy, but I'm saying that if you're that bothered, go take a mental health break. Take a break from the internet and go get help. I mean, a lot of us have therapists. I don't go to mine very often, but whenever I get that kind of tore up in the mind, I will go. So anyway, that's basically it for me and tarot. One of the things I thought about doing a series on tarot. I've got a couple of other readings from other internet tarot card readers so that I could do a video and talk about this very thing. And it didn't go super well. The other readings are pretty awful, and there were a lot of things wrong. Most of them were completely wrong. The one that she gave me, one portion was pretty significantly wrong. And I struggled with that because it was so wrong. And I just realized it's an entertainment. It shouldn't be something that you base any of your life choices on. And I find that scary because on Love After Lockup, there is a woman that moved to Ohio after her tarot card reader said, oh, the cards say you should move to Ohio, which I'm like, it's not even possible with tarot. It's not possible at all. If you know something about the person you're doing the reading on, of course, you're going to put your spin, you're going to look at the cards, and you're going to have that confirmation bias. We talk about that a lot at NLQ. Confirmation bias is a real thing. You know somebody, you know a group, you know this. And instead of doing it, saying, okay, maybe I shouldn't read into this the way it is. So I am glad, Lisa, that I'm your peaceful place. I started thinking about it and said, you shouldn't be reading into it what you know about the person. I don't know how others feel about this, but although I love tarot, I have no issue with it. I do find it almost disrespectful to give someone a reading that did not ask for consent to the reading. The average chick, I have a problem with that too. A big problem, particularly when it's people you know and you know their history and you're reading into it again with the confirmation bias crap. So I think that is just absolutely wrong and disrespectful. And I hope she wouldn't do that anymore. I know she likes to do that. But it does seem kind of creepy and weird and wrong. Didn't ask. Lisa, yeah, she's done readings. She did a reading on the road hogs where she talked about a pregnancy loss, which I would not put that on anybody. Even if I was a tarot card reader and I saw that in the cards, I would not tell somebody that. She gave a reading on that. She gave all kinds of readings on that sort of thing. But I think for me, seeing how she spoke about the retirement residents or retirements, that she's a CSA, I think it is. It's just not, you don't do that. You could actually get fired for that. It was brutal. It was brutal and it was just wrong. You just don't do those things. People, it's one thing if you're doing a reading on, say, Prince Charles, who's this huge public figure who's never going to see it. You don't matter at all to them. It's a whole different ballgame. when it's people in your own community, that to me is just, I mean, even if she did several readings on KJ, and I'm not happy with that. But I understand why you would do it because of the whole Tati Westbrook thing. And I've seen Caroline be extremely wrong. I'm going to say that. I'm just throw that out there. I think the biggest one I saw her get completely wrong was when there was a, do you remember the canal? I guess it was in Egypt where the boat was stuck sideways in it for like a month and a half and it shut down all shipping. I don't know if that was the Suez Canal or not. My brain is not working. Anyway, she gave a reading that a woman would figure out what to do, and a woman, and that it would not happen for a while. It happened the next day. It was not a woman involved. They did some other stuff than what she said. And I was like, okay. See, so I kind of do have a problem with that because I spoke last week about people who do the, what do you call it? The words of knowledge. I've seen that burn people and go haywire. I think anytime you're projecting into the future what you think is going to happen, whether you think it's from the Lord or you think it's from a set of cards, you're really on some very dicey ground there. You better be damn sure about what you're saying because you could hurt people. That's the big thing. You could hurt people and you don't want to hurt people. You want to avoid that as much as possible. So there you have it. I'm going to go ahead and go. I got to go use my asthma meds again. I'm sick of that. I'm sick of this laying around. I'm trying to wash everything in the bedroom today to see if I can get anything that might possibly be an allergen off the bedding. Words of knowledge can make me nuts. Pink Nana, me too. I've gotten some crazy ones too through the years. And I've had to sit back and go, that's not exactly right either. I think the one that made me the craziest was when my husband and I went away for, what do they call that? They called it, we went away for Deliverance Ministry. That was it. And the Deliverance Ministry, they told me that my husband had a demon of rage and would kill me one day. That is so wrong. They also told each of us that we were both having affairs. That was wrong. Neither of us were having an affair. It was just, I think it's irresponsible to tell people those things when you don't have backing evidence. So anyway, that's my rant on that for today. You guys have a great day. And I'm going to put links to the book in the description. Lisa, I'm glad that you did. This is what we need to be talking about. We need to be talking about how to survive, how to help each other. I think more than did Brittany get released from whatever. Poor Brittany. Okay, you guys. Love you. See you later.